Hi, my name is Ramanan, and I was formerly the first mission director of Atal Innovation Mission over the last 4 years. It was part of the Government of India under the auspices of the NITI Aayog, the National Institution for Transforming India. I'm currently the Senior Vice President of Tata Consultancy Services, which I had joined way back in 1981, and which has been one of the most successful IT consulting and services company from India. A very large organization today with more than 450,000 employees, but we started off as almost as a startup organization way back in 1968. We are in India a 1.3 billion people country. This is a very large country, and we have a tremendous advantage, as they say, over the last several years, which have developed, which is the demographic dividend of our country. We have more than 1.3 billion people, but we have 65% of our country under 35 years old. And that is a tremendous advantage for any country to have. We are one of the fastest growing economies of the world over the last several years. We have been growing at 6 to 8%. And that is again a tremendous advantage for a young, youthful country where you have a demographic dividend to take advantage of. And finally, we are also living in a world where technology is changing the very shape of the world in which we are all living in. Technology is changing the way we are experiencing the world, and the world is experiencing us. You have tremendous advances because of affordable, accessible, available, and advanced technologies like 3D printing, which is revolutionizing the way you are able to conceptualize, prototype, define, and develop a product right in front of your eyes. You have IoT technologies or sensor technologies, which is getting integrated into man, machine, device, soil, space. You have 5G, wireless, fiber, satellite, and communication technologies, which are making rapid advancement and which is enabling large amounts of data to be gathered from the sensor technologies and to be communicated across wide distances in fractions of seconds. And we have large computing capabilities like nano computing and supercomputing and advanced computing technologies, which are able to process this data using big data analytics and very fast, powerful processing algorithms. As a result of which, artificial intelligence has become the order of the day. Today, even though it has been talked about for several years, more than 50 years, we have been talking about artificial intelligence, but never in the world or never in our history has artificial intelligence made so much sense to be able to gather, process, and use the data that is being gathered for the advantage of humanity. And that is the critical juncture in which a country like India stands. We have this tremendous convergence of a fast-growing economy, a demographic dividend, and available affordable technology, which can be harnessed for the development of our country. And that is what has been happening in India over the last several years. If you look at the last 5 years, the Global Innovation Index of India has risen from a position of 81 to a position of 48. Now that's an amazing leap in terms of the growth of innovation capability in a country. But mark you, the Global Innovation Index is not just a measurement of the innovation potential and the innovations that are happening in our country, but also the application of that innovation to the people and to society, because the parameters which measure the Global Innovation Index also measures the impact of these innovations and the applications of these innovations for the benefit of socio-economic progress of a country. And therefore, this becomes a very important point in time as all of us look at how we can leverage this advantage of demographic dividend in India, the technology and the economy for faster growth of our country. In fact, I would not hesitate to say that in the next 10 years, we have the opportunity in India to become among the top global 10 innovative countries of the world. Now let's see where this confidence comes from. First and foremost, we have 1.4 million schools in our country. We have over 10,500 engineering and related institutions. We have over 39,000 colleges, and we have close to about 150 million young students who will be entering into the workplace over the next 5 to 10 years. Now, that's a tremendous advantage for a country to have. And when you're having this plethora of academic focus and research and development going on in our country, then you have the opportunity to create innovators of the future. And that is what a mission like Atal Innovation Mission that was launched 4 years ago in 2017 has been able to create. The Atal Innovation Mission is focused on two things. One, how do we create a culture of innovation in our young school students, in our students, in our industry? And second, how do we create an ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship in our universities and in the industry so as to be able to spur the architects and the creators of the future? You see, India has done remarkably well over the last several years in IT and ITES technology, providing services to some of the best companies across the world. We have a sprawling and we have a thriving $190 billion IT ITES industry, which has just grown over the last 15, 20 years. And companies like TCS or Wipro or Infosys have set the trend and set the trail for many others to follow. So India is being perceived as one of the rising knowledge capitals of the world. And it is a knowledge-based economy in this digital transformation that is happening across the world that's going to be significant in terms of being able to bring benefit to the society as well as to the economy. But India also has another thing, and that is it has several challenges. It's 1 billion people with 1 million challenges. But 1 million challenges are 1 million opportunities for the young Indians to be able to create solutions for and to be able to take the country and the world into the future. Now, let me share a little bit on what these challenges are. India is a large country. Like I said, first and foremost, we have 1.3 billion people. But more importantly, they are spread over 650,000 villages in our country. There are more than 715 districts, and there are more than 8,000 small towns and cities. We have only 8 tier 1 cities in India at this point in time. And we have more than 250 million people who are part of the middle class rising economy of the country. It is not going to be a distant future. In fact, over the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to have another 250 million people added to this rising economy. And that's the size of many nations. And therein lies the opportunity. And these people are spread over the 650,000 villages, 715 districts, and we have, like I said, 8,000 small towns and cities. There is a huge initiative in India, not only by the private sector, but also by the government and by many other stakeholders, including multinational companies across the world, to tap into this opportunity, the opportunity of demand for 1.3 billion people. And that is why you have this tremendous focus and this FDI, which has grown rapidly in India over the last several years. It has also created one of the fastest growing startup ecosystems of the world. We have the 3rd largest startup ecosystem anywhere in the world, behind US and China. And more importantly, we have one of the fastest growing ecosystems in the world, with more than 55,000 startups and more than 400 incubators and more than 40 unicorns that have sprung up just in the last several years. Now, that is much needed to be able to convert the challenges of India into opportunities for startups and entrepreneurs to be able to capitalize on and to be able to provide solutions for. And that is why the Atal Innovation Mission, for which I had the good fortune to become the mission director on behalf of the Government of India and of NITI Aayog, was designed for. How do we stimulate this culture of innovation in the young students who are coming out of schools? So we set up thousands of what are known as Atal Tinkering Labs, the first of its kind, I would say, anywhere in the world. These Tinkering Labs are dedicated innovation workspaces in every school, where the latest of technologies like 3D printers, robotics, IoT devices, miniaturized electronics, augmented virtual reality are being implemented for young school students to acquire a problem-solving, innovative mindset. You see, most of our schools, not only in India, but even across the world, they focus on rote learning. They focus on enabling the student to give value to marks and get good marks, get into a good university, get good marks again, go into a university abroad, and good marks again and join a company, whether it is the Googles or the IBM or the Apples or the TCS or the Wipros of the world. What we want to do is we want to convert our nation from a nation of job seekers to job creators, because there is the potential for them to become dynamic job creators of the future. And that is why imbibing and instilling this spirit of innovation in our young school students, so that when they go into the universities, they are able to now find the ecosystem which encourages startups through the world-class incubators that are being set up. Today, we have, just in the last 4 years, we have set up over 10,000 tinkering labs across 680 districts of our country. And 7,500 of them are fully operational. More than 4 million young students are being exposed to these technologies and to these innovations, and they are acquiring a problem-solving innovative mindset. And mind you, they are between grade 6 to grade 12. Now, when they go into the universities, the government of India, along with support from the private sector, is setting up world-class incubators. You see, we need world-class incubators to foster world-class startups. Our people come from all over the country, and any university which is there in the country, if they are not enabling their young, talented, innovative students the opportunity for a startup to be able to set up a startup and nurture them during the first 2 years when they are very fragile and they need the help to overcome the valleys of death in the startup life cycle, as they call it, by providing business planning support, strategy support, venture capital support, mentoring support, and to be able to create solutions so that they're able to address the problems they see in and around the communities they live in. Unless we do that, we will not create thousands of hubs of innovation and job creation. So that is the idea, to create thousands of hubs of innovation and job creation so that the startup community can blossom and the young students, talented students, are able to become a part of an exciting future. We are living in very difficult times today because of COVID-19. But I would like to share with you that during these COVID-19 times, which have been unprecedented with a simple virus paralyzing countries across the world, disturbing supply chains, disrupting national lives and livelihoods, creating national lockdowns, during this COVID-19 year, we had more than 2,500 startups come out from Atal Innovation Mission, and more than 11 unicorns were born out of these incubators and startups that are there in our country. Now, isn't that an amazing thing? The COVID-19 year actually revealed to us, when we launched a challenge and we launched a search for COVID-19 related preventive, assistive, or curative solutions, more than 1,500 startups responded to it with alacrity and with eagerness to be able to present their solutions for preventive, assistive, and some curative solutions. And that is how we have been able to tackle, in a large country and a complex country like India, been able to ride over this crisis in some decent manner. Yes, still there has been tremendous disruption to lives and livelihoods, not only in India, but across the world. But it is the startups which have come to the rescue, and this is what is going to come to the rescue for India in the years ahead. Now, what has also happened is, because of this has been a watershed moment in the eyes of the private sector, as well as the investors who have seen the power of the startups and who are able to now experience the potential that these startups bring to the growth of the nation. In the words of the Honorable Prime Minister, he has said that we need to build a very strong India, a new India, a resilient India, resilient to possible pandemics, possible climate change issues, and possible other disruption to supply chains because of nationalistic fervors. And we need to ensure that we not only provide solutions for our country, but also for the rest of the world. That is the potential that all the other countries are also seeing. And that is why we are having a tremendous amount of support for innovation-related initiatives from the Government of India by the private sector. In fact, in Atal Innovation Mission, We have had more than 40 large corporates and multinationals partnering with us in our innovation journey and supporting the young startups and the innovators to be able to realize their dreams. Similarly, the Atal Innovation Mission has launched challenges which are known as New India Challenges and Arise Challenges for the micro, small, medium enterprises. The MSME industry, or the micro, small, medium enterprise industry of India, constitutes more than 70% of the labor force. The formal and informal labor force is associated with the MSME industry. So unless we ensure that we use digital technology to be able to grow the MSME industry in the nook and corner of India, in the remote hilly coastal districts, in the 115 aspirational districts that have been defined by the government of India in order to eliminate the 22% below the poverty line, the 44% agri-economy transformation that needs to take place so that India grows not only from an economic point of view, but also from a social point of view. It's very important for us to ensure that in the growth of the economy, the social aspects of India are not neglected. Affordable, clean drinking water, sanitation, waste management, affordable housing, access to lives and livelihoods and rural finance, gender diversity, ensuring that women and girl children become part of the economic revolution that is going on in the country. These are all several initiatives that have been embraced by the government and has also been embraced by the private sector. Now, let me share a little bit about the private sector. I come from one of the largest IT consulting and services company of this country. But when I joined this company in 81, we were only 400 people in TCS. And today it is 450,000 people. More importantly, it has been able to establish the power of the private sector in being able to penetrate into the global market in the knowledge and the services industry, whether it is ITES or the IT services. Today, Indian IT companies and technology-based companies and design-based companies are now looking at creating products and creating new startups and creating new ventures, which can be solutions for the rest of the world. And therein lies the opportunity for investment, not only by venture capitalists in India, but also venture capitalists from the entire global market. I do want to share that this is a great opportunity for F50 in the Global Capital Summit to be able to deliberate on and look at this potential and look at these opportunities that India offers. In the last century, India lagged behind in the industrial revolution that swept the world. But today, India is, I would say, at the leading edge of the knowledge revolution that is sweeping the world all over. With technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain, biogenetics and DNA, genome computing, and technologies like 5G, wireless, and augmented reality, virtual reality become accessible to everyone through cloud services, there is a huge opportunity for every district and every little town of India to be able to grow and realize their full potential. There is the potential through digital reach to be able to market products from a remote town of Salem to Seattle, or from Sikkim to San Francisco, or from Jodhpur to Japan. The globe is the marketplace. The world is the stage on which India operates. And it is tremendous opportunity for everyone to join this innovation bandwagon that is sweeping across the country.
Okay, so there are a few questions which I would like to know for where you know, for our global audience in this India
Sure.
Track F50 Global Summit. The first question, you started with Atal Environment. I know I am the, you know, definitely I am one of the participation, and I have seen this initiative you have taken and you spread across the pan India. But my question is, there is a huge cluster of young minds in India. They're all very, the global aspirations and the local aspirations are higher actually. How they'll be sustaining this growth story, sir, about India's growth story, and India is expanding, you know, automatically in India, global, in the global market. How actually these young aspirants will be sustained, sir, in this growth? Or is there any factor to sustaining?
Yeah, so it's a very important question, Srinath. All the initiatives in India need very active participation by multiple stakeholders. It is not just the government alone which is going to create this innovative ecosystem and will be able to sustain it. Any sustenance of such large initiatives nationwide in a country like India needs the support of academia, of local governments, of industry, of micro, small, medium enterprises, of NGOs, and of large corporates. And that is what is the way forward for Indian economy to grow and Indian social problems to be addressed. And you are seeing a tremendous interest by the private sector as well as by government entities and NGOs in this regard. In fact, India has one of the largest number of NGOs in the world. And they are all working along with private sector. And if you look at Atal Innovation Mission initiatives, for example, even in Tinkering Labs, we have not only set up the Tinkering Lab, but we have created one of the largest body of mentors of change who will be associated with it. And you are one of the mentors of change who's playing a tremendous role in being able to foster this innovative spirit in our young students. So we have over 10,000 mentors who have registered with Atal Innovation Mission. And these are all people who are there in the industry, who are experts, who are PhDs or who are masters in engineering or technology or management. And they are voluntarily spending their time associated with an Atal Tinkering Lab or an Atal incubator or a startup, and they are providing mentorship. Because mentorship is very important. You know, someone who's been there, done that, and is familiar with the technology can fill the gaps of knowledge that is there in the school teachers or even within the industry. The second thing is there is a lot of global cooperation that is happening between India and many other countries. And I want to especially highlight on that. For example, we have relationships with the government of Denmark, with the government of Sweden. We have relationship with Singapore, with Russia, with the United States, with Germany, with France. And these are formal relationships which are boosting innovation, entrepreneurship in areas of mutual interest between the two countries. For example, between France and India, there is tremendous cooperation going on in aerospace, engineering, agriculture, and manufacturing, and so on. Between Denmark and India, we are addressing problems on global water challenges and water management and water distribution and renewable energies and so on. And so this global cooperation between countries and with multinationals who want to be part of creating the future India, because they have a market to address in India. And unless we co-innovate together with startups from, let's say, Israel and startups from India, and be able to work together, this will not be solved in any sustainable manner. And finally, talking of sustainability, I also want to emphasize that there is a strong focus on the UN SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals that the United Nations espouses. And every innovation in India, whether it is through the Tinkering Labs or through the startups, is aligned with one or more of the SDG goals. That is how we are encouraging this. And it is not uncommon now in the young students in our school to talk about the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, where none of us, when we grew up in school, were even educated on them.
Thank you, sir. Very right answer you have shared. I'm last two questions, but I'm combining these two questions, sir, in one, bringing it one question. You're part of the, you have been in the journey of this large corporate TCS, So my question is, TCS kind of a company, how serious they are contributing towards India's growth story in the startups and the innovation, and making more aspirants to be productive, in fact, through the corporate contribution. Combinedly, I'm asking you last question, sir. What is your one message to global audience on this F50 Global Summit platform, that why they should look at India?
Okay. TCS and of course the Tata Group has always been committed to the nation, as most of you are aware. Jamshedji Tata in fact famously said that we, the consumer or the customer is the king. And we are, the companies, all the companies of the Tata Group are there because we have a customer to serve, and they are the reason for our existence. So they always have believed in leadership with trust. And leadership with trust means that not only do you become leaders from an economic point of view, but also acquire the trust of the people because you're bringing good and doing good to the people. So the Tata Group, and I would say TCS in particular, have been very, very keen on ensuring that young companies and young startups are encouraged and through various mechanisms. Each of the companies has their own mechanism. In TCS itself, they have what is known as a co-innovation network, the COIN network. And the co-innovation network is now one of the most active components where they work with startups, not only from India, but from across the world. Because TCS serves countries all across the world, in the United States and 56 other countries that I know of. And therefore, the aim is not just to encourage startups in India, but also encourage startups anywhere in the world who can become part of the revolution, the knowledge revolution that is taking place. Secondly, there is a tremendous focus by the Tata Group on sustainable development goals. Tata Trust, which is a separate organization under which all the Tata companies actually operate. Tata Trust is committed to societal benefits and social growth and social entrepreneurship and bringing benefits to the people. So there are a number of initiatives that the Tata Group is involved in all of this. And they're all available on the Tata website or the TCS website and so on. Finally, the one message that you asked me, I can only quote Swami Vivekananda, who was one of the leading philosophers from our country. He said, "Arise, awake, and stop not till our goals are reached." What I would share is, arise to the opportunities that are there in India. We have a number of challenges, like I said, 1 million challenges, but these 1 million challenges are 1 million opportunities for everybody across the world to look into and solve. Because when you solve a problem for India, you actually solve a problem for the rest of the world. When you solve a problem for 1.3 billion people, it's a potential solution for the 7+ billion people on our planet. Second is awaken the talent, the latent talent and innovation capability that this country has and many other countries have. And how do we jointly collaborate and co-innovate together to address many of the challenges that we as the planet have. And finally, stop not till the goals of a world where it is not just driven by economic prosperity, but by social good. A world where we make a sustainable planet for every one of us to live in. A world where all of us can be happy and content and not suffer the way we are doing so today because of tremendous focus only on one aspect, which is the economy. So these are the opportunities that everybody has. And so I would say, arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached.